We are going to create stained glass using Photoshop Elements. Step 1. First, we are going to go to Adobe Photoshop Elements. When you open the program, we always go to Edit with the pencil. Once Photoshop has opened, you will notice that you do not have a canvas. We will need to go to File, New, Blank File. We are going to name it Stained Glass, and we are going to use US Paper as our preset. This is going to show up as Portrait. If you would like Landscape, then you would switch the two numbers. If you would like a square for your stained glass in the middle of your paper, then you're going to use 8.5 by 8.5. So there's 3 different options you could use. I'm going to go ahead and just use the preset 8.5, 8.5 by 11. My resolution needs to be 100 pixels per inch, RGB color, and white background. Now we have our canvas to draw on. If yours comes in like this, you just need to have your maximize button. A couple of the tools that we will be using is the Move tool, which is the arrow. Anytime you are on any other tool and you want to select and move or resize your shape, you must click on the arrow. We also have our Zoom tool. We can click the plus sign. All of our tool properties will show up right up here. So I can hit the plus sign and click to zoom in, and then I can click the minus sign to zoom out. The other thing that we are going to be using is down here, our color palette. The top square is our foreground. That's whatever's going to paint or be in our paint bucket. Our shapes. You'll notice mine is white right now. That wouldn't do me much good because my paper is white. I wouldn't be able to see anything. To change the foreground color, you simply click, and you could change it to whatever color you want. I'm going to change mine to black and click OK. We need to begin with black. The background color, which is the square behind, needs to remain white. Then we are going to begin with a focal point in the middle using our shapes. This may be a heart, this may be a line, or a rectangle depending on whichever shape you used last. To use your shape tool, you click and hold, and this menu will pop up. You could use rectangle, rounded rectangle, ellipse, or that's our circle or oval. Polygon, we will use our line tool here in just a minute, and our custom shapes tool. I'm going to click on custom shapes, and remember the properties always go at the top. I can click on my shapes, and if I want to see all my shapes, I can click this double arrow and go down and click all element shapes. And now I can go down and I can see all the shapes that I have available. Now, in order for this to begin correctly, it needs to be a full black shape. Do not choose a shape that's white in the middle because it will not turn out correctly. So you can choose any one of these shapes that is dark black. So I'm going to choose a hexagon. And I'm going to start with a small shape in the middle. If I don't like the placement, I click on my arrow to move it around. Now I'm ready to begin my lines. Now I'm going to create my main design for my stained glass. I'm going to again click and hold, go over to line tool. I'm going to go up and look at the properties. Yours may say 1 pixel. That is going to be a very teeny tiny line. Your pixel weight needs to be set somewhere between 5 and 10 pixels. And what I begin doing is drawing my lines. I must make sure that all of my lines touch. In order to get a straight line, I can click and drag my line, and then I can hold the shift key, and if you'll notice, see how it straightens up? And so I can let go of my mouse and let go of my shift key. When you are finished creating all of your lines, you will go back and you will look at all of the edges, all of the intersections using your zoom tool. You will want to make sure that all of your lines intersect. If there's any white, you need to use your move tool and select, and you'll need to move them the way that you want them. I will notice that right here I have a little bit of white. It will not work if you have even the slightest bit of white. You will need to make sure that there's no spaces at all. Sometimes I get a little too much, so I can make sure to fix that right there too. Okay, I will also need to make sure that I have a border all the way around. So I have my line tool, I straighten it up just so that I have a border, whoops, all the way around. I used my arrow keys just then to move it down. I can do that. If it's not exactly where I want it, I can hit my move tool and you'll notice it's selected, and I can just use my arrow keys to move it just a little bit. So I select it, my arrow key, and that way it moves it just a little bit, but not a whole lot. So my arrow keys. Okay. We're going to pretend this is a finished design and go on to step 2.